All right, hi everybody. We are back with another Monday lesson, and I'm here to talk to you about transcribing. All right, how to make this process easier, some fundamentals, and kind of a step-by-step process of how you should be transcribing. All right, as we know, we're under quarantine, so now is a perfect time to be diving in on some transcriptions, diving in on your playing, trying to add some things to your arsenal, right? Trying to check out some things that you may or may not have had time to check out. All right, so I'm here to help you in that process, okay? So as you know, transcribing can be such an arduous process. It can be confusing, it can be upsetting, right? What are they doing? How do I even begin to catch up to what they're playing? How do I begin to understand what they're playing? What's going on? What chords are they playing? What progression is this? What tune is this? What is happening? Right? These are some things that we encounter when we go into some transcriptions dry, just trying to figure it out. All right, so I'm here to break that cycle, give you some tips and tools to make you a better transcriber. All right, the overall picture I need you all to understand is that this is going to be focusing heavy on your ear. All right, build that ear, build that ear. Understand, develop your ear training to a point where you can figure out what's going on. You can recognize certain things. This is not only going to help you as a transcriber, it's going to help you as a performer, as a producer, as a songwriter, right? As a transcriber, we're trying to figure out what's already done, right? And there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's actually going to help you in tremendous ways, right? But as a producer, songwriter, performer, some of these things are happening live. When you're writing songs or producing beats, you need to be able to get what's in your head out. So you need to be able to know, oh, okay, yeah, that's a minor chord that I'm hearing. That's a minor progression. Oh, that's a major progression. Oh, that's the diminished chord or whatever. I want to hear this kind of kind of diminish arpeggio, whatever's going on to help you get to that product a lot more efficiently, okay? So build this muscle. Don't rely heavily on lead sheets or written out transcriptions. Some of those are decent guides for you if you really can't figure out what's going on, but really build and develop that ear, all right? Let's dive right in. So the first thing that's going to help you be a better transcriber is to understand scales. Understand what they sound like, what they are, how to play them. And that's for any instrument: trumpet, sax, keys, guitar, bass, whatever it is. If you're a vocalist, right, understand scales, how to build them, the right arrangement of half steps and whole steps, what they sound like, how to play them, right? All of them: major, minor, diminished, dominant, pentatonic. If pentatonic scale is so important, it's so used, it's used heavily, right, since almost the beginning of time. Pentatonic scale, I don't care what you play. If you don't know it, get familiar with it, all right? Know all of them, back and forth. If you want to take that a step further and start learning them all, their modes, understanding what a major scale sounds like when you start on the 5 versus the 1, right? Know what a pentatonic scale sounds like if you start on the 5 versus the 3 or whatever. Beautiful. Take it as far as you want to go with it, all right? But understand those scales, all right? Next, chords. Understand chords and what they sound like to you. Understand how to play them. Understand what they sound like. Same thing, right? What does a major scale, what does a major chord, sound like to you, right? There's no right or wrong answer. You have a conglomerate who may agree, major sounds bright and happy or whatever. If that's what it sounds like to you as well, beautiful. If it sounds like something different, beautiful. The big deal is you have to be able to recognize that sound. All right, make it personal to you. What does major sound like? What does dominant sound like? What does diminished sound like? What does minor sound like? Can you play it? If you're a vocalist, or if you're like a bass player or a saxophonist or something that has to do more individual notes, can you spell it out? Can you arpeggiate it to understand what it is? Can you sit down at the piano and play it, and then go to your instrument from there? Can you play it as a singer and then sing it out? Can you play it as a saxophone player and then play it out, right? Which leads me to my next point, my next step, arpeggiations and inversions. Can you play that chord in all of its inversions? Can you recognize it in all of its inversions, right? All of its different voicings: rootless voicing, rooted voicing. If I play it more spread out versus a cluster voicing, can you still recognize that it's major or minor or dominant or whatever it is? Can you play it in all its inversions? And can you arpeggiate it, right? When you're transcribing solos, some things that they do is arpeggiate the chord that they're playing to help navigate through the changes. So understand what that is, be able to recognize that technique and what they're doing. All right. And the next step, last step, understanding chord progressions, what they sound like. Can you recognize a 2-5-1? Can you recognize, all these different turnarounds, 3-6-2-5-1? Do you understand how that's built, right? 2 being minor, 5 being major or dominant, 1 being major, right? Can you recognize those things? Can you recognize just a 2-6 progression, or 1-4 progression, a 6-5-4 or 1-5-6-4 progression, one of the most heaviest used chord progressions ever, right? Understand those things, what they sound like. And the thing is, it's not confined by whatever key you're in, right? If I play a 2-5-1 in C, technically it'll sound different if I play it in E flat, but it's not a completely different thing if it's in E flat, and that's for everything I just mentioned: a major chord, a major scale, a minor voicing. Understand the sound. Don't confine it to, I only know what this sounds like in C. Know what it sounds like, because it's still major. If it's B flat major, if it's E flat major, if it's F sharp major, it's still major, all right? So understand these things. All right, now, last thing I'm going to talk about, the process to transcribing whatever you're working on, all right? First step, find the key. Find the key of the song. When you find the key of the song, you don't want to find just the note that sits well, right? If I play a G and it fits, I'm not necessarily in G. I could be in A flat, I could be in E flat, I could be in C, I could be in D. There's a bunch of different options I could be in if it just the note G fits. All right, if the G major fits, that's more of a clue, right? If it sounds like that's the resting place, that's what key I'm in, right? Because if I play a G, I could still be in D or C, or A, So if it sounds like that's that resting place where everything just kind of fits, that's what key you're in. So find what key you're in. Next step, understand the chords, the chord progression, right? If you're studying jazz, that might be more detailed than if you're like trying to transcribe like a pop record that has, that's repeating like a couple of chords. But understand the chord progression. That's going to help hone some things down. It's going to help kind of narrow down the toolbox that they're using to solo over these changes. And then the next thing is when you get into the solo, chunk it up. Don't try to just go gung-ho across 3 choruses of John Coltrane blazing on the blues, right? Take the first chorus, take maybe the first bar, first 2 bars or whatever, figure out what that is, nail that down, then add maybe 1 or 2 bars on top of that. Then keep going, they keep going, they keep going. That way you can kind of tackle it in some bite-sized pieces and be a lot more successful, right? And if you understand the things I just talked about, you're going to get to a lot of what he's playing a lot faster. Are you going to become a John Coltrane? Never know until you try, right? All right, so please, please, please let me know how you're doing. I am excited to hear about your success stories, all right? So leave a comment, follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, all right? And have a happy time transcribing, all right? Love to hear from you all, and I will see you all next Monday.